The war had been going on for 47 years. 47 years of death. 47 years of burning planets and broken families. The Dominion and the Coalition had been killing each other since before most humans alive today were even born. Admiral Daniel Hayes stood in the observation deck of Earth Command, watching the latest footage from the front lines. His hair and tired eyes told the story of a man who had seen too much. On the screen in front of him, a battleship fired on a convoy of refugee ships. The ships carried no weapons. They carried families. 3 million civilians running from a war they never asked for. The missiles hit their targets. The refugee ships broke apart like glass toys dropped on a hard floor. In seconds, 3 million lives became nothing but floating debris and silence. Admiral Hayes turned off the screen. His hands were shaking, but his face showed nothing. "Sir," a young voice came from behind him. Hayes turned to see Lieutenant Chris Palmer standing in the doorway. Palmer was 24 years old, fresh out of the academy, and still believed the universe made sense. "What is it, Lieutenant?" "The Galactic Assembly is convening again. Ambassador Park is preparing to deliver our response." Hayes nodded slowly. "Let me guess, they want us to join the war." "Yes, sir. This is the 200th time they have asked. And it will be the 200th time we say no." Palmer stepped closer. His young face was full of confusion and frustration. "Sir, may I speak freely?" "Go ahead." "I do not understand. We have the ships. We have the weapons. We could help them. We could stop this." Palmer pointed at the dark screen where millions had just died. "Why do we keep watching? Why do we do nothing?" Admiral Hayes looked at the young man for a long moment. He remembered being that young. He remembered believing that doing something was always better than doing nothing. He remembered being wrong. "Walk with me, Lieutenant." They walked through the long corridors of Earth Command. Soldiers saluted as they passed. Technicians ran between stations carrying data tablets. The whole building hummed with activity, even though Earth was officially at peace. 47 years ago, Hayes began, when this war started, Earth had 12 combat ships. 12. They have 8,000. They had 6,000 before they started losing. If we had joined then, what do you think would have happened? Palmer was quiet for a moment. We would have lost. We would have been erased, completely. Every man, woman, and child on Earth and in our colonies, gone just like those refugees. But sir, that was 47 years ago. Surely we have more ships now. Hayes smiled, but there was no happiness in it. How many ships do you think we have, Lieutenant? The official count is 48 combat vessels, sir. The official count. Hayes stopped walking. They had reached a large window that looked out over the city below. Flying cars moved between tall buildings. Children played in parks. People lived their lives without knowing how close death had come so many times. What if I told you the official count is a lie? Palmer stared at him. "Sir, what if I told you that for 47 years, while the galaxy thought we were hiding, we were building? What if I told you that every factory on Earth and in our colonies has been working day and night, in secret, to create something the universe has never seen?" The young lieutenant's eyes went wide. "How many ships do we really have?" Before Hayes could answer, an alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed along the corridor. Both men ran toward the command center. Inside, Captain Laura Mitchell was already at her station. She was a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had commanded the flagship Valiant for 15 years, and there was no one Hayes trusted more. "What do we have?" Hayes demanded. Mitchell turned to face him. Her face was pale. "The broke through the final defense line. They are heading for the—" "How long until they arrive?" 72 hours, maybe less." Hayes felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. 72 hours. After that, an entire species would be gone. They had been reaching out to Earth for decades, begging for help. They were not warriors. They were scientists, artists, teachers. They had never wanted this war. that had attacked them for their resources, for their planets, for no reason other than greed. "Get me Ambassador Park," Hayes said. Minutes later, Park appeared on the screen. He was a small man with kind eyes and a gentle voice, but he had spent 30 years representing Earth to the galaxy. He knew how to be strong when he needed to be. "I heard the news," Park said. "The assembly is in chaos. Everyone is begging us to help." "What did you tell them?" "The same thing we always tell them. Earth does not take sides in alien conflicts." Hayes closed his eyes. For 47 years, that had been the answer. For 47 years, he had watched people die while Earth waited. The waiting was almost over, but it still hurt. "Sir," Palmer spoke up. His voice was shaking. "We cannot just let them all die. There has to be something we can do." Hayes opened his eyes. He looked at Mitchell, then at Park on the screen, then at all the officers in the command center. These were good people. They had kept the secret for years. They had done their jobs while the galaxy called them cowards. "Lieutenant Palmer," Hayes said slowly, "I asked you to walk with me because I saw something in you. I saw someone who cares about doing the right thing, someone who does not just follow orders without asking questions." "Sir, the galaxy thinks we have 48 ships. The galaxy thinks we are weak. The galaxy thinks we have been hiding because we are afraid." Hayes turned to face the main screen, which now showed the fleet moving like a wave of death toward the galaxy is wrong. He pressed a button on his command console. Around the room, screens flickered and changed. The official fleet count of 48 ships disappeared. A new number took its place. Palmer gasped. Mitchell smiled. Park nodded slowly on his screen. 12,000 ships. The United Earth Defense Fleet had 12,000 warships, hidden in bases across human space, waiting for this moment. "For 47 years we watched," Hayes said. "For 47 years we prepared, not because we did not care, but because we refused to enter a war we could not end." He turned to face his crew. "Contact President Cole. Tell him it is time. Humanity is going to war." Cole had not slept in 36 hours. He sat at the head of a long table in the deepest room of Earth Command, surrounded by the most powerful people in human civilization. Generals, admirals, scientists, and advisors filled every seat. The weight of what they were about to decide pressed down on all of them. "Let me make sure I understand," Cole said. His voice was calm, but his fingers tapped nervously on the table. "If we do nothing, they will be completely destroyed in less than 3 days." "Yes, sir," Admiral Hayes replied. "They have made their intentions clear. They want to wipe out the entire species, every man, woman, and child. And if we act, we will be at war with the Dominion." "Yes, sir." Cole looked around the table. "General, what is your assessment?" General Amy stood up. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room. She had spent 40 years planning for this moment. Every war game, every simulation, every secret training exercise had led to this day. "Mr. President, they are the aggressors. They started this war. They have committed countless acts of violence against civilian populations. If humanity must choose a side, the choice is clear." She pressed a button and a holographic map appeared above the table. "Our fleet is ready. All 12,000 ships are fully armed and crewed. We can be at the in 4 hours." 12,000 ships, Cole repeated softly. "The galaxy thinks we have 48. "That was the plan, sir. Let them think we were weak. Let them ignore us. Meanwhile, we built the largest and most advanced fleet in galactic history." Cole turned to another man at the table. "Dr. Brooks, tell me about Project Silence." Dr. Brooks was old. His white hair was messy, and his glasses sat crooked on his nose. But his mind was sharper than anyone else in the room. He had spent his entire life creating weapons that no one else could imagine. "Project Silence is a targeted electromagnetic pulse network," Brooks explained. "It can shut down any ship in the galaxy without destroying it. No explosions, no deaths, just darkness. Their weapons, their engines, their life support will all keep working at minimum levels, but they will not be able to fight or run. You are telling me we can disable an entire fleet without killing anyone? That is exactly what I am telling you, sir. Cole leaned back in his chair. This was the moment he had been preparing for his entire political career. Every decision he had ever made had been leading to this choice. Why did we wait so long? He asked. 47 years. Billions of people have died in that time. Why did we not act sooner? Hayes answered, because we refused to become what we were fighting against. If we had entered this war with the technology we had 47 years ago, we would have had to kill to win. We would have had to burn worlds and murder their children just like they murdered everyone else. We would have won the war and lost our souls. But now we can end this war without becoming monsters. Now we can show the galaxy that strength does not mean cruelty, that power does not mean death. Cole nodded slowly. He looked at every face around the table. He saw fear, hope, determination, and doubt. These were the emotions of people about to change history. Vote, he said simply. One by one, every person at the table raised their hand. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would go to war. 4 hours later, the fleet was ready. 12,000 ships hung in the darkness of space, hidden in the shadow of Earth's moon. Each ship was crewed by men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They had kept the secret. They had waited. Now they would act. On the bridge of the Valiant, Captain Laura Mitchell stood before her crew. They were young and old, men and women, people from every corner of human space. They looked at her with eyes full of trust. "I am not going to give you a long speech," Mitchell said. "You know why we are here. You know what we are about to do. For 47 years, the galaxy has called us cowards. They have begged for our help and we have said no. They have watched us do nothing while billions died." She paused and looked out the main window at the stars. "Today they find out why we waited. Today they learn what humanity really is. We are not going to burn their worlds. We are not going to murder their children. We are going to end this war the way it should have ended decades ago, without hate, without revenge, with mercy." She turned back to her crew. "Every person we save today, is a victory. Every life we spare is proof that we are better than the darkness that surrounds us. Am I clear?" "Yes, Captain," the crew responded as one. "Good, take us to Fold Space. It is time to introduce ourselves to the galaxy." The Valiant's engines hummed to life. Around it, 11,999 other ships did the same. Space itself seemed to bend as the human fleet prepared to jump across the galaxy in an instant. Far away at the edge of space, the High Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship. His name was, and he had been killing for 30 years. His scales were dark red, and his yellow eyes were full of cruel confidence. "High Commander," one of his officers reported, "we are receiving intelligence that human ships are moving." Laughed, it was a cold, ugly sound. "Human ships? You mean their little collection of outdated garbage?" "Yes, High Commander." "How many?" "Our spies report 48 vessels." Laughed again. Around him, his officers joined in. The bridge filled with the sound of mocking laughter. 48 ships, said. "The primitive apes are finally showing some courage. It does not matter. We have 8,000 warships. Let them come. We will crush them like insects and then finish what we started with the—" He turned to look out at his fleet. Thousands of warships stretched across space as far as the eye could see. They were the most powerful force in the galaxy. Nothing could stop them. "Continue toward the," ordered. "In 72 hours, we will watch their entire species burn, and if the humans get in our way, we will burn them too." His officers cheered. Victory seemed certain. The war was almost over. They had no idea what was coming. In the darkness of space, 12,000 human ships finished their calculations. On every bridge, on every deck, in every heart, humanity prepared for war. Admiral Hayes gave the final order. All ships engage fold space drives, take us to war. And humanity vanished into the stars. That was beautiful. Blue oceans covered most of its surface. Green forests spread across its continents. Cities of white stone and silver metal sparkled in the sunlight. It was a world of peace, of art, of gentle people who had never wanted to fight anyone. Now it was surrounded by death. 8,000 warships filled the space around the planet. Their weapons were charged and ready. In just a few hours they would begin their attack. Every city would burn. Every forest would turn to ash. Every living thing on that beautiful world would die. On the planet below, billions looked up at the sky and waited for the end. Mothers held their children. Families gathered together. There was nowhere to run. There was nothing they could do. They were too strong and no one was coming to save them. High Commander stood on his bridge and smiled. This was the moment he had waited for his entire life. The complete destruction of an entire species. High Commander, an officer called out. We are detecting strange readings at the edge of the system. What kind of readings? Unknown energy signatures, many of them. Frowned, show me. The main screen changed to show the emptiness of space at the edge of the solar system. For a moment, there was nothing. Then space itself began to tear open. Points of light appeared. 1, 10, 100, 1,000. They kept coming more and more until the darkness was filled with the glow of ships emerging from fold space. What is this? Demanded. How many ships? His officer's voice was shaking. Counting now, High Commander. 1,000, 3,000, 5,000. The officer looked up with fear in his eyes. High Commander, there are over 12,000 ships. That is impossible. The humans only have 48 ships. These are human ships, sir. All of them. 12,000 human warships. Stared at the screen. His confident smile was gone. In its place was something he had not felt in 30 years. Fear. On the bridge of the Valiant, Captain Laura Mitchell watched the fleet on her screen. 8,000 ships. They were still a dangerous enemy, but for the first time in 47 years, they were not the biggest force in the fight. Open a channel to all ships, she ordered. Channel open, Captain. Mitchell stood tall and spoke clearly. Her voice was carried across space to every vessel. This is Captain Laura Mitchell of the United Earth Fleet. You are ordered to power down your weapons and surrender immediately. This is your one and only warning. You will not receive another. For a long moment there was silence. Then's voice came through the speakers, full of anger and pride. You think you can threaten me, human? I have 8,000 warships. I have conquered 100 worlds. Your pathetic fleet means nothing. All ships open fire, destroy them. The fleet turned its weapons toward the human ships. Thousands of missiles and energy beams filled the space between them. It was enough firepower to destroy a planet. The attacks passed through the human ships like light through water. On the bridge, officers stared in disbelief. High Commander, our weapons are having no effect. The human ships are still there. They are undamaged. That is impossible, shouted. Fire again, fire everything. More weapons fired. More attacks passed through the human ships without touching them. Mitchell smiled slightly. Phase shift technology, she said to her crew. They have never seen anything like it. Their weapons cannot touch us because we are not entirely in the same space as them. Captain, Lieutenant Palmer reported, the fleet is attempting to reposition for a coordinated attack. They can try, it will not help them. All ships return fire. Disable their weapons and engines only. I want 0 casualties if possible. The human fleet moved forward. Their weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of explosions and death, they fired precise beams that cut through shields like they were not there. Ship by ship, the fleet went quiet. Weapons stopped working. Engines failed, but the ships remained intact. The crews remained alive. In the first hour, 2,000 ships were disabled. They floated in space, dark and silent but not destroyed. High Commander watched his fleet fall apart around him. He could not understand what was happening. The humans were not killing anyone. They were just turning off his ships like they were toys. "All ships retreat," he ordered. "Fall back to secondary positions." But it was too late. The human fleet had already surrounded them. There was nowhere to go. Admiral Hayes watched from his command ship as the battle unfolded exactly as planned. "Deploy Project Silence," he ordered. Across the human fleet, special weapons activated. They released waves of energy that spread through space like ripples in water. Every ship the waves touched went dark. Life support stayed on. Gravity stayed on. The crews were safe, but everything else simply stopped working. In 11 minutes, 3,000 more ships were disabled. "Admiral," an officer reported, "the fleet is no longer combat effective. 5,000 ships disabled. The remaining 3,000 are surrounded and cannot escape." Hayes nodded. "Open a channel to all vessels." "Channel open, sir." "Forces, this is Admiral Daniel Hayes of the United Earth Fleet. Your weapons are gone. Your engines are gone, but your lives are not. Surrender now and you will be treated with respect. You will be given food, water, and medical care. Your wounded will be healed. Your dead will be honored. This war does not have to end with more death. The choice is yours." On the below, billions of people watched in amazement. The fleet that was supposed to destroy them was floating dead in space. And the humans, the species everyone had called cowards for 47 years, had not killed a single person. Lieutenant Palmer coordinated the rescue operations. Human ships moved among the disabled vessels, offering help to any crew that needed it. Medical teams stood ready. Food and water were prepared. The humans were treating their enemies like guests, not prisoners. "Why are you helping us?" a captain asked when human medics came aboard his ship. "We were going to destroy you." The medic, a young woman named Kelly, looked at him with kind eyes. "Because you are people," she said simply, "and people deserve help when they need it." The captain did not understand. In 30 years of war, no one had ever shown him mercy. He did not know how to respond to kindness. But far away, in the Empire, someone was watching these events with cold fury. Emperor sat on his throne and saw his fleet defeated without a single human casualty. He saw his warriors being given food and medicine by the very species they had laughed at for decades. He reached for a small device on his throne. A button glowed red in the darkness. "If I cannot have victory," the Emperor said to himself, "then no one will have anything at all." He pressed the button. Across space, hidden in asteroids and moons and empty corners of the void, 12 devices began to wake up. They were called void bombs. Each one had enough power to destroy an entire planet. And their countdown had just begun. Lieutenant Torres sat at her station on the intelligence ship Watcher. Her job was to listen, to find signals that others missed, to catch whispers in the darkness of space. And right now, she was hearing something that made her blood run cold. "Admiral Hayes," she said urgently into her communicator, "I am detecting 12 encrypted signals across space. They activated 30 seconds ago. I am running them through our decryption systems now." Hayes's voice came back immediately. "What kind of signals, Lieutenant?" Torres worked her controls with shaking hands. The encryption was military grade, but human technology was better than anyone knew. In seconds, she had broken through. What she saw made her gasp. "Sir, they are countdown signals. 12 devices hidden across space. They are called void bombs." She read the data quickly. "Each one can destroy an entire planet. They are set to detonate in 47 minutes. There was a moment of terrible silence. Then Hayes spoke. "All ships, this is Admiral Hayes. New orders. We have 12 planet-killing weapons to find and disable in less than an hour, split into 12 strike teams. Lieutenant Torres is sending coordinates now. Move fast. The lives of billions depend on us. The human fleet broke apart like water splitting around rocks. 12 groups of ships raced in 12 different directions, each one heading toward a hidden bomb. Captain Mitchell's team reached the first bomb in 6 minutes. It was hidden inside an asteroid field, surrounded by chunks of rock and ice. The bomb itself was the size of a small building, covered in writing and glowing with deadly energy. "Dr. Brooks," Mitchell called to the scientist back on the command ship, "I need you to tell me how to shut this thing down." Brooks appeared on her screen. His old face was serious, but his eyes were calm. "Send me the bomb schematics, Captain. I have been studying weapons technology for 40 years. This is what I have been preparing for." Mitchell's team scanned the bomb and sent the data. Brooks studied it for exactly 34 seconds. "I know this design," he said. "We stole the plans for it 20 years ago. The never knew we had them. There is a control panel on the north side of the device. You need to enter a specific sequence to disable it." "Send me the sequence." "Sending now. But Captain, you only get one chance. If you enter it wrong, the bomb will detonate immediately." Mitchell looked at her best engineer, a quiet man named Sam Harrison. "Sam, can you do this?" Harrison nodded. He was scared, but he had trained his whole life for moments like this. "Yes, Captain, I can do this." They sent him to the bomb in a small shuttle. He floated through the asteroid field alone, carrying nothing but his tools and the disarm codes. The countdown timer on the bomb showed 31 minutes remaining. Harrison found the control panel. His hands were steady as he entered the sequence. One wrong number and he would die. One wrong number and millions would die with him. He entered the last digit. The bomb went dark. The countdown stopped. "First bomb disabled," Harrison reported. His voice was shaking now that the danger had passed. Across space, similar scenes played out. Human teams found bombs hidden in the rings of gas giants, buried in the ice of frozen moons, and floating in the empty darkness between stars. Dr. Brooks guided each team through the disarm process. His knowledge, gathered over decades of secret research, saved millions of lives with every passing minute. 6 bombs were disabled in 43 minutes, but the remaining 6 were different. They were protected by defense stations. Ships and soldiers guarded them. Disabling them would require more than just technical skill. "Admiral," Mitchell reported, "we cannot reach the last 6 bombs without fighting through defenses. We are running out of time." Hayes made a decision. "All teams, engage the defenders. Use non-lethal methods if possible, but those bombs must be stopped." For the first time in the battle, real fighting began. Human ships exchanged fire with defenders, but even now the humans tried to disable rather than destroy. Soldiers were stunned, not killed. Ships were crippled, not blown apart. 4 more bombs were disabled, 2 remained. Then Emperor's voice filled every communication channel in the galaxy. "Humans," he said, his voice was cold and full of hate. "You think you have won. You think your clever tricks can stop me, but I still control 2 void bombs, and I control them from here, from my palace on the. Withdraw your fleet now, or I will detonate them manually. Millions will die, and it will be your fault." Admiral Hayes responded calmly. "Emperor, you are asking me to let you continue a war that has killed billions. You are asking me to abandon innocent people to your cruelty. That is something I cannot do." "Then watch those planets burn, human. The blood will be on your hands." Ambassador Park's voice came through next. He sounded almost amused. "Emperor, before you press that button, perhaps you should check your palace's defense grid." There was a long pause. Then the Emperor's voice returned, and this time it was full of confusion and fear. "What have you done? How did you get past my defenses?" Deep inside the Imperial Palace, Sergeant Ben moved through the shadows. His infiltration team had been inside for 2 hours, waiting for this moment. They had entered through a maintenance tunnel that security had forgotten about decades ago. Human intelligence had not forgotten. With was Specialist Price, the best hacker in the human military. She had already disabled the palace's internal security systems. The guards did not know they were there. "Sergeant," Price whispered, "I have located the Emperor's command center. He is alone. His guards are outside the door. Can you open the door without alerting them?" Price smiled, already done. They moved like ghosts through the ancient halls of the palace, had a weapon that could stun a person from 30 feet away. Price carried the tools needed to shut down any computer system ever built. Neither of them planned to kill anyone. The door to the command center slid open silently. Emperor sat with his back to them, his claw hovering over a red button that would detonate the remaining void bombs. "I would not touch that if I were you," said. The Emperor spun around. His yellow eyes went wide with shock. "How did you get in here? This is impossible." "Nothing is impossible, Emperor, not for humans," kept his weapon trained on the leader. "Step away from the console." "You cannot do this. I am the Emperor of the Dominion. I have conquered 1,000 worlds. And tonight you have lost them all. Step away." Price moved to the console and began working. In seconds, she had taken control of the remaining void bombs. The countdown stopped. The weapons went silent. "Admiral Hayes," she reported, "all 12 void bombs have been neutralized. The Emperor is in custody. We have control of the palace." Across the galaxy, humans and even some heard the news. The planet killers were stopped. The war was ending. Hayes broadcast one final message to the remaining forces. "Your Emperor has been captured. Your fleet has been disabled. Your void bombs have been neutralized. There is nothing left to fight for. Surrender now, and this war ends without any more death." One by one, ships began powering down their weapons. The fight was leaving them. The war they had waged for 47 years was finally over. But not everyone was ready to give up. One admiral, a warrior named Vex, still had 200 ships under his command, and he was not interested in surrender. "All loyal," he broadcast, "follow me. If we cannot defeat humanity here, we will make them pay on their own world. Set course for Earth." 200 ships turned away from the battle and jumped into fold space. They were heading for humanities, carrying enough firepower to kill billions. The war was not over yet. Admiral Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars blur past as his fleet raced toward Earth. His scales were covered in old battle scars. His left eye was missing, replaced by a glowing red implant. He had been fighting since he was a child, and he had never once surrendered. "How long until we reach the human?" he demanded. 40 minutes, Admiral." Vex smiled. It was an ugly smile, full of broken teeth and hate. "Good. If the humans want to play heroes, let them watch their families burn. Let them feel what we feel." Behind him, his 200 ships followed in tight formation. They were the last loyal forces of the Dominion, and they were going to make humanity pay for everything. On the Valiant, Captain Mitchell received the news. "Captain," Lieutenant Palmer reported, "Admiral Vex has broken away from the main fleet. 200 ships are heading for Earth at maximum speed." Mitchell felt her heart go cold. Earth, her home, her family lived there, her parents, her little brother, everyone she loved. "Admiral Hayes," she called, "request permission to intercept." Hayes's voice came back tired but determined. "Granted, Captain, but I cannot spare many ships. Most of the fleet needs to stay here to maintain control of the prisoners and protect the—" "How many can you give me?" 20. 20 ships against 200. Mitchell did not hesitate. 20 will be enough. Valiant and Strike Team Gamma, follow me. We are going to protect our home." The 20 human ships jumped into fold space, racing to catch Vex's fleet before it could reach Earth. They pushed their engines harder than ever before. If they failed, billions would die. They caught up to Vex's fleet in the empty space between star systems. 20 small lights facing 200 engines of destruction. "Admiral Vex," Mitchell broadcast, "this is Captain Laura Mitchell of the United Earth Fleet. You are ordered to stop and surrender. You cannot win this fight." Vex's face appeared on her screen. He laughed when he saw her fleet. 20 ships? You think 20 ships can stop me? I have 200 warships, human. You are nothing but a speed bump on my way to burning your world. "We have something you do not have, Admiral." "And what is that?" "Something worth fighting for." The battle began. Vex's ships opened fire with everything they had. Missiles and energy beams filled space like a deadly storm. The human ships danced through the chaos, their phase shift technology making them impossible to hit. They moved faster than they could track, striking again and again at enemy weapons and engines. But 20 ships could only do so much. The humans could not disable 200 enemies fast enough. For every ship they stopped, 10 more kept going. "Captain," Palmer shouted, "we are not going to make it. They are getting past us." Mitchell watched a group of 30 ships break through their line and continue toward Earth. In minutes, they would be in weapons range of her. All ships focus fire on the breakthrough group. Stop them at any cost. The human fleet concentrated their attack on the 30 escaping ships. One by one they went dark. 28, 25, 20, 15. But 3 ships got through the human line. 3 destroyers continued toward Earth, their weapons charging for an attack that would kill millions. "No," Mitchell whispered, "we cannot let this happen." The Valiant surged forward. Mitchell pushed her ship faster than it was ever designed to go. Alarms screamed. Metal groaned under the stress, but she did not slow down. They caught up to the 3 ships just as Earth came into view. The blue and green planet hung in space like a precious jewel. Cities sparkled on its surface. Billions of people lived there, completely unaware of how close death had come. The Valiant placed itself between the ships and Earth. "Fire," Mitchell ordered. Her ship's weapons blazed. The first destroyer went dark. Then the second. The third tried to fire its weapons at Earth, but the Valiant's beam cut through its systems before it could complete the shot. All 3 ships floated dead in space. Earth was safe. Behind her, the rest of the human fleet had finished their work. Vex's remaining ships were disabled. The Admiral himself was trapped on a powerless flagship, surrounded by human vessels. "Admiral Vex," Mitchell called, "your fleet is gone, your empire is gone, surrender now." For a long moment there was silence. Then Vex appeared on the screen again. His face was twisted with fury. "I will never surrender to you, human. If I cannot have victory, I will have death." He reached for the self-destruct controls of his flagship. If he triggered them, 3,000 of his own crew would die with him. "Palmer," Mitchell said quickly, "boarding teams now." Lieutenant Palmer led a team of 20 soldiers onto the flagship. They moved fast, using stun weapons to disable any crew that got in their way. No killing, no revenge, just efficiency and mercy. They reached the bridge just as Vex's claw touched the self-destruct button. Palmer fired his stun weapon. The Admiral collapsed to the floor, unconscious but alive. "Self-destruct disabled," an engineer reported. "The ship is secure, 3,000 lives saved." Vex woke up in a human medical bay. His wounds had been treated. A human doctor was checking his vital signs with gentle hands. "Why?" the old Admiral asked. His voice was broken and confused. "I tried to destroy your world. I tried to kill your families. Why did you save my crew?" The doctor, a kind-faced man named Dr. Peter, looked at him with something Vex had never seen from an enemy before: compassion. "Because your crew are not monsters. They are soldiers who followed orders. They deserve a chance to live in a galaxy without war." Doctor checked one more reading and nodded. "And because that is who we are, that is what it means to be human." Vex did not understand. He had spent his whole life believing that strength meant cruelty. That victory meant death. The humans had shown him something different, and he did not know what to do with it. The war ended 5 hours and 7 minutes after the first human ship entered combat. Total casualties across all sides, 847 wounded, 0 dead. The Galactic Assembly met 1 week later. Ambassador Park stood before representatives from every species in the known galaxy. Behind him, a screen showed footage of the war. Human ships disabling enemies without killing them. Human medics treating wounded. Human soldiers risking their lives to save people who had tried to destroy them. For 47 years, Park said, you asked us why we did not help. You called us cowards. You thought we were weak. He paused and looked at the silent assembly. Now you understand. We waited because we refused to become what we were fighting against. We built our fleet in secret because we needed time to develop weapons that could defeat our enemies without destroying them. We did not want to win a war. We wanted to end one. He turned to look at and representatives sitting on opposite sides of the room. Today, for the first time in 47 years, your people are talking instead of fighting. Today, prisoners are being returned to their families. Today, children who have never known peace are learning that the war is over. He smiled softly. That is what victory looks like to humanity, not dead enemies, living friends. A refugee camp had been set up for displaced whose ships had been disabled in the battle. Human peacekeepers watched over them, making sure they had food, water, and medicine. Admiral Hayes walked through the camp, observing the strange scene, and species that had been killing each other for decades were now sharing the same space. It was not peaceful yet. There was still fear and anger and pain, but it was a beginning. He stopped when he saw 2 children playing together near a fountain. One was, with small red scales and curious yellow eyes. The other was, with soft blue fur and gentle features. They were building something with blocks, working together without speaking, communicating through the universal language of play. Their parents watched from nearby, a mother and a father both looking nervous and uncertain, but they were not stopping their children. They were letting them play. Hayes watched for a long moment. He thought about the 47 years of waiting, the billions who had died while humanity prepared, the doubt and pain and patience it had taken to get here. It had been worth it, all of it. Captain Mitchell appeared beside him. She looked tired but happy. The galaxy keeps asking me the same question, she said. They want to know why we did not just destroy the when we had the chance, why we worked so hard to save people who wanted to kill us. What do you tell them? Mitchell watched the children playing. The girl handed a block to the boy. He smiled and added it to their tower. I tell them the truth, she said. Humans do not enter wars to win them. We enter wars to end them. And we waited until we could end this one without becoming monsters ourselves. Hayes nodded. The children laughed as their tower grew taller. Somewhere in the distance, a ship lifted off, carrying former enemies home to their families. The war was over, the healing had begun. And humanity had shown the galaxy what true strength really meant.